Up until the judgment, we were terrified, nervous, lack of sleep, like really worried, and now we are jubilant. We are so relieved. It's a hugely important decision. It could have gone really badly for us. It didn't. Reality has been asserted. Women are female. We are biological females, not some man who filled in a form and got a certificate. It doesn't matter what a man feels like or what paperwork he does. He is not a woman.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is your host, JDhillon. I hope you're all doing well and you've all had a great day so far. In today's episode, man, oh man, I cannot stress enough, we have a lot to get through. Today is a very historic day in the UK because we have finally legally defined what a woman is. Yeah, I know, that's the point we reached. We needed a court to set the record straight, and the result is not going to go down too well with the woke leftist liberals, as the UK Supreme Court has ruled that trans women are not legally women. Finally, and I'm actually in total shock right now. I don't know how to process this. We actually have a win for common sense in the UK. We never thought this was going to happen because the sort of road we've been heading down recently, yeah. Let's not even talk about it, let's celebrate this win. But as you can see with the title, the thumbnail, that's not the only thing I'm going to be talking about in this episode, because Dylan Mulvaney is back in their headlines once again, as in an interview with the woke Sky News, this stunning and brave influencer said trans rights shouldn't be political ahead of the ruling in the UK to define woman. And we're going to check out what he said in this interview, because as always with Dylan Mulvaney, it is absolutely ridiculous. But before we get into all of this news, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you could, make sure to leave a like rating, as it really helps out the video. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, and let's all sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So as you guys can see on your screen, the Telegraph are reporting live as of making this video, trans women are not legally women, the Supreme Court has ruled. Wait, hold on a second, I have just realized something. Can I even say that on YouTube at this point? Probably not. Handing down judgment, Lord Hodge said it was the court's unanimous view that the terms woman and sex in the 2010 Equality Act refer to biological sex and not acquired gender. Gender-critical campaigners hailed Wednesday's ruling as a victory for common sense. I just don't think it's gender-critical campaigners. I think it's a lot of people, but they claim gender self-ID is dead. It follows a long battle between Campaign Group for Women Scotland and the Scottish Government over the definition of a woman. Lord Hodge told the court that the unanimous decision of this court is that the definition of the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not. In an 88-page ruling, the court added that the concept of sex is binary under the Equality Act 2010. But obviously we have people out here who aren't too happy about this because truth, reality, common sense doesn't sit too well with them. As you can see, Supreme Court has let down trans people, say the Greens. What about all the women that have been let down in recent years? Do you care about them? Of course not, because for you, woke agendas, that's all that matters. The Supreme Court's ruling has badly let down transgender people, the Scottish Greens have said. Maggie Chapman, MCP for North East Scotland, said this is a deeply concerning ruling for human rights. What are you on about? And a huge blow to some of the most marginalised people in our society. It could remove important protections and will leave many trans people and their loved ones deeply anxious and worried about how their lives will be affected and about what will come next. Trans people just want to be able to live their lives like any of us without the fear of prejudice or violence, but today they have been badly let down. Look, nobody is saying people can't live their lives. These people always say the same stuff. It's always to try and create this victim narrative. But when you have such a small group of people dictating the direction of society and everybody else has to go along with it, and then as a result, for example, women's rights get thrown out the window, of course people are going to push back. I don't get how people can sit there and say the Supreme Court's ruling has badly let down trans people. What about everybody else who has had to comply with all of this nonsense? What about women's safe spaces? Do these people not care about that? What about truth, reality, common sense? In my opinion, those things have been let down more than trans people ever have been. But let's move on to the next part. As you can see, Sky News have reported that Mulvaney says trans rights shouldn't be political ahead of ruling to define woman. Mulvaney, who documented his own transition in a viral TikTok series, was speaking ahead of a Supreme Court judgment in London on Wednesday about how women are defined in law. Again, I just cannot believe I'm sat here talking about a Supreme Court ruling defining legally what a woman is because of how insane the world has become. The 28-year-old US social media personality told Sky's Barbara Serra on The World, "I've seen my family completely accept me and love me, and I think that's why I haven't given up on any person or any group of people." He also called for transness to to no longer be a political topic, because it shouldn't be. We're just humans trying our best. And here we get the meltdown over Donald Trump. On Trump's first day back in office, he signed an executive order directing the US government to recognize only two biological distinct sexes, male and female, and he directed the State Department to change its policies to only issue passports that accurately reflect the holder's sex. Oh, no, such a devastating thing, I can't believe. Asked about Mr. Trump's policies, Mulvaney said, "It's a sad thing to see someone trying to take away the rights of humans that are just trying to live their lives." Wait, hold on a second. I know this is very hard for people like Mr. Mulvaney to understand, but just because a dude one day randomly, magically decides to identify as a woman does not then mean you get the same rights as women. It can't be that way, and it should never be that way. So I then ask, what rights are actually being taken away if they weren't yours to begin with? Are you saying, for example, as well, that Trump signing the executive order keeping men out of women's sports is a bad thing? Most likely, because people like this just insist on living in the land of delusion, and they are always the victim. Again, we're not monsters. Who's calling anybody a monster here? Actually, you know what? From what I see on social media and public discourse surrounding this whole issue, if anybody, and I mean anybody, states the facts, what happens? Oh, they're the ones that get called the bigots, the transphobes, the monsters. You're mean and hateful. It's funny how it works. We're people that have woken up and stepped into our authentic selves. For me, that's a very camp, fun, feminine human being who also happens to be a woman. No, you're just a gay man. But there is also video footage of this interview that we're going to briefly check out of JDhillon Mulvaney speaking to Sky News. How groundbreaking, right?
It's difficult times for the trans community in the United States as well. We are seeing policies from the Trump administration that many would see as anti-trans. Again, how do you see the situation right now, and what do you think your voice could be?
Well, I think that it's sad. It's a sad thing to see someone trying to take away the rights of humans that are just trying to live their lives. Again, we're not monsters. We're people that have woken up and stepped into our authentic selves. For me, that's a very camp, fun, feminine human being who also happens to be a woman. And I think what I'm now excited is to step into this next chapter of my life and realize that there are so many other trans people who should be speaking on those things. And I'm finding my way in right now, which is through theater.
The trans issue has become a bit of a wedge issue politically in the States, in other parts of the world as well. How do you think we got here? And a lot of people say that the conversation hasn't been inclusive of everyone, and a lot of voices have been silenced, especially on the gender critical view. Again, what are your thoughts, and how do you think you could improve the conversation?
I think trans people have always been here, and it's not something that just happened. It's not something that's being pushed on us by any certain influence or...
Not pushed onto anybody whatsoever. No.
I really think that people need to maybe stay in their lane a little bit. I think it's a very frustrating time, but I also think that, you know, right now in my life, it's for me to be here doing theater and singing and dancing, and that's what brings...
Yeah, I'm done with that one. You know, thinking about it now, this is actually quite the groundbreaking video, because I'm about to do something I've never actually done. I agree with JDhillon Mulvaney. I think people should stay in their lane. I think men who identify as women should stay out of women's spaces. I think men who identify as women should stay out of women's sports. That would be a good way for people to stay in their lane, but somehow, some way, I don't think he's on about those people. I think he's on about the people who speak up for truth, reality, common sense. He wants those people to stay in their lane and not say anything bad. Don't you disagree with this agenda? Stay in your lane. Now, people are allowed to state the truth. People are allowed to talk about the facts regardless of how it makes you and others feel. But that is the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. Leave your thoughts down below about everything discussed in this video. If you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. Share this video, but until next time, it has been your host JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.